Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 everyday things that prove your life is a lie. Coming in at number 10 we have hair flicks. We all know commercials on TV. Compared to other things on TV, they're seen as pretty simple to make, but actually a lot goes into them. One of the most heavily advertised things on TV is hair care products, and in almost every hair care ad there's that classic hair flick. Now, you may assume this is done by a fan or even just naturally, but you see, these commercial guys want everything to be exactly how they envision it. So they employ ninja type guys in green screen suits to push the women's hair to make it flick. This is pretty astonishing as it's so simple, yet they go to so much effort to make it work. Sometimes these green men even have to use poles to get it done exactly right. And these are the same green men which were employed for superhero movies and things like that. Just imagine filming the Avengers one day and a commercial for shampoo the next. Now, I don't see how all this hair flicking make women buy more products, but you know what they say, if you think it's not working, then it's good advertising. Next up is noodles. If you're a college student, I'm sure you eat your fair share of ramen noodles. They're cheap and they don't taste half bad, but instant noodles aren't being totally honest with you. When you tear off the lid, you may see the noodles go all the way to the top, but this is not the case as someone tore down the side of the noodles and made a shocking discovery. As you can clearly see, there's a massive gap underneath where the noodle should go. Take a look at any noodle cup and you'll see they get smaller as they go down. This is to make it look like you're getting more bang for your buck. And seeing as they pack noodles into those tight cups, it's hard for you to tell exactly how much they're ripping you off. Are you guys gonna keep on eating ramen noodles after this? To be honest, I can't stay away from them, but this photo sure has changed how I see every single instant noodle from now on. Next up is oranges. What came first, the color or the fruit? That is the age-old question about oranges, but once you hear this, you'll see why people ask. Oranges are of course orange. I mean, it's in the name, right? Well, the fruit orange actually came first, because some oranges are the color orange. Now notice how I said some. That is because not all oranges are orange. Some are green. You may be wondering why you've never seen these elusive green oranges in stores. Well, you do, you just don't know. That's because green oranges are sprayed with ethylene gas in order to break down the chlorophyll on the orange. This makes the color go from green to a more recognizable orange. And if you're wondering why they don't just sell the green ones in stores as they taste the same, well, blame the American consumer. They tried to sell the non-gas sprayed green oranges in stores in the US. However, nobody went anywhere near them, and some people ironically thought they'd been artificially colored green, when in reality the orange color you're used to is fake. Next up is Bear Grylls. I'm sure we all know Bear Grylls. In case you don't, he's a British survival expert who's known for his TV work on shows like The Island and Man vs. Wild. However, he's most famous for drinking his own pee to survive out in the wild. On his shows, it really looks like he's roughing it out in the woods somewhere, but in reality, it's not all that bad for Bear, and behind the camera, he seems to prefer drinking fresh water to pee. You see, an image of Bear was leaked from on set of him and his crew eating pizza and drinking bottled water. So much for the foraging for berries and roadkill raccoon, this guy pretty much has a banquet. Apparently it's not all that bad for Bear, and I'm guessing this image is just one of many times he's had it better than he leads us on to believe. His motto is improvise, adapt and overcome, but it should be extra pepperoni please. I don't mean to mess up your view of these shows too much, but a simple Google search also shows him being exposed for faking it many times. Can you ever watch Man vs. Wild the same way again? Next up is power towers. Now this one is so incredible it looks photoshopped, but I can assure you it's not, and it will prove your life is a lie. You know those massive power towers you see all over the place? You've probably never wondered how these are made, but now that you think about it, how are these made? Well, these are made in factories while lying flat. They're then airlifted into fields and connected to one another. This is something most people have no idea about, and if you told them, they likely wouldn't believe you. But as you can see, they use giant industrial helicopters in order to transport these giant power towers. It looks like something out of a movie, as you can see from the people looking at it in amazement. It is a sight to see, and I guarantee you'll never look at a power tower the same way ever again. Next up is Powerball. I'm sure either you or your parents use a dishwasher at home. Well, if you check out which washing tablets you used in your dishwasher, 9 times out of 10 people seem to use Finnish Powerballs. They not only look cool, but they're also internationally famous. The design is a white and blue square with a ball in it, right? I mean, it's called Powerball, and in all the commercials it shows a ball inside the tablet. But someone with way too much time on their hands broke one of these things open and saw something that changed a lot of people's views on this everyday product. You see, Powerballs aren't even balls, but a semicircle. The white, blue and red components are all different cleaning parts, with the red part being the most expensive. So they skip out on some of the red by not making it into a ball, saving them a ton of money. It's insane how we've been lied to our whole lives about this. I'm actually surprised that they're allowed to do that, but I guess the Powerball Powerball is so powerful it doesn't need to comply with advertising regulations. If you don't believe me, then pop the ball out of your Powerball and you'll see there's no ball in sight. Come on, Finnish, even Hitler had more balls than you guys, and he only had one. Next up is Captain Crunch. So, a moment ago we learned that an orange is really green, but now we have a food lie which is a little less healthy, Captain Crunch cereal. It's one of the most popular cereals in the US, but they've been lying to you your entire life. Now it's nothing to do with the food, but the mascot, Mr. Captain Crunch himself. Captain Crunch is up there with cereal mascots like Trix Bunny and Tony the Tiger. However, I have to let you know that Captain Crunch is not even a captain. In fact, Captain Crunch is overselling himself as he's a commander. A captain is in charge of a whole ship while a commander is in charge of one part of a ship. But how do I know this? I'm not a hardened Navy vet. You see, Captain Crunch gives it away on his own uniform. On his uniform he has 3 stripes, which means he's a commander, while a captain would have 4. In previous designs of Captain Crunch, he's had 1 stripe meaning he's an ensign and 2 stripes meaning a lieutenant. Wow, it seems like they want him to be every rank but captain. Sorry Captain Crunch, but the jig's up. Next up is cobblestone. Now this one is really surprising. If you live in a nice area, I'm sure you have those cobblestone walkways somewhere in your town. You probably assumed some artisan bricklayer spent hours designing it. But in reality, these are simply made in bulk in a factory. They're then literally placed over cement to make it look like a lot of time's been spent making this stuff. This really does change the way you view the world, as cobblestone paths are literally everywhere. Some of them are even made to look worn to make them seem more realistic. The reason most people don't know about this is because roadwork is often done at night as to not cause a disturbance. So, thanks to this, people who aren't in the bricklaying industry don't know about this crazy lie we've all been sold. Did you know about these fake cobblestone pathways, or has your life been a lie? Next up is bowling ball. Bowling balls are big heavy balls used to knock down the bowling pins. You may have wondered what's inside a bowling ball, but it's pretty much impossible to check as they're solid as a rock. Inside some more expensive bowling balls are metal weights. But what about the cheaper ones which aren't used by the pros? Well, sometimes they're simply filled with random heavy objects and concrete. Some cheapo manufacturers buy casing of a bowling ball and then buy lots of small balls and heavy objects wholesale to put in them. They then fill the casing up with concrete and make a bowling ball and then sell it by the weight. One guy actually bust open his bowling ball and found a load of random stuff that was just seemingly thrown into it. Now, I'm not saying you should go break open your bowling balls to check, but you could very well prove that your life is a lie. This saves the bowling ball makers a ton of money, but it also means your bowls aren't as accurate. So if your nickname down at the bowling alley is Gutterball, then you know who to blame. Next up is road markings. We all know road markings. We see them every day when we drive or walk outside. Most people assume these are painted on by a spray painter. However, that is actually not the case. Most of the time, tape is used on the ground here and then it's burned onto the road. This saves governments a ton of money across the world as tape is way less expensive than paint. It's called thermoplastic tape, and when it's heated up it sticks to surfaces it's been laid on. It's also waterproof and is better for the environment than painting every road. However, it's still very surprising to see photos of this stuff being laid. It's far more accurate than paint, as sometimes road paint can be spilt and cause a lot of confusion. And of course it looks pretty cool too. I mean really, this guy looks like he's just broken physics by lifting up road paint, when really it's road tape. I don't know about you guys, but I don't know what to believe anymore. From what we eat to what's on our roads and streets, everything seems to be a lie. If you guys want to see more things that prove your life is a lie, then check out part 1. I actually made a part 1 to this video about 6 months ago, so be sure to go watch that. Personally, the thing that surprised me the most was the oranges. I mean really, you think you know a fruit and then it goes and changes colour on you. I seriously think they should sell green oranges though. They could call them limited edition oranges and suckers would lap them up. Okay, nobody steal that business idea. But seriously, it goes to show that some things in your life are a lie. Even Captain Crunch was lying to us the whole time. Who would have believed it? I don't know about you guys, but I'm keeping my eye on Tony the Tiger, the Trix Bunnies, and those Rice Krispies kids. If you guys know any more things that prove your life is a lie, then be sure to comment it in the comment section below and I'll try to read it. Coming in at number 10, we have Lego holes. We all know Lego toys. When we were kids, we probably all played with them, and maybe secretly we still do today. But one thing you may have never thought about is the small notches on the Lego people's heads. The purpose for the notches is clear, as it's simply to connect the heads to other pieces of Lego. But what about the holes in those notches? If you look inside the notch in the head, there are 3 holes which don't seem to have a purpose. But really, their purpose is life-saving. They're there in case a child who's playing with it swallows it. The holes will allow air to circulate and get to the lungs. These holes have saved thousands of lives, so it's actually a super useful thing which seems useless. Next up is rings on headphone jacks. Take a look at your headphone jack right now. Does it have 3 rings around it? Some people think that this is simply a design on your audio jack, or perhaps it even makes the signal better. But no, that is not the reason for these rings on headphone jacks. You see, each ring is a different section that represents a different component of the device. Also, there are 2 kinds of sounds headphones can make. If your headphone jack has less than 3 rings or no rings, then it will be mono sound. But if your headphone jack has 3 rings on it, then it will produce stereo sound. This is where there are 2 different streams of audio, one coming from the left and the other from the right. And the rings also mean that your earphones are designed to have a microphone function. Next up, we have airplane winglets. Have you ever been on an airplane, looked out the window and saw this odd thing on the wing? Some people think this is simply to make the plane look good, but that is not the case. These things are called winglets, and they actually save the lives of not just everyone on your plane, but everyone else in the sky. You see, when an airplane is in the air, it creates small twisters like you might see naturally. This is because of the pressure levels in the upper and lower parts of the wing. These twisters can be dangerous for the plane and also other planes in the sky that follow it. But this is where the winglets come in. They cancel out the twisters by equaling out the air pressure that airplanes create. So these small winglets are not just useful, but are actually life-saving. Next up is holes in earpods. Do you own a pair of Apple earpods? If so, then you'll have realized there are holes in the earpods which don't seem to have a purpose. They don't enter your ear and don't appear to increase the audio quality, but they're actually super important. They allow air to circulate through the speakers to increase low frequencies. In case you don't know much about audio, then this basically makes the audio sound way better. It makes the bass sound deeper and does various other things which improve the sound quality. If you don't believe me and are wearing them now, then try covering them up, and the audio of this video should sound worse. Maybe this can be the next feature Apple removes when they bring a new iPhone out. Next up is embossed side of cotton pad. Have you ever realized that cotton pads have 2 different sides? One side is smooth while the other is embossed. Well, there's actually a reason behind this which every girl should know. The embossed side is for applying makeup, as things on it can come off easily onto your face. And the smooth side is for cleaning your face and removing makeup. This is because things come off onto the smooth side really easily. So there actually is a reason behind the different sides of cotton pads. This one is actually an awesome life tip, so girls take note. And some boys too, I guess. Next up is disc on helicopter. We all know helicopters and how they work. Blades spin around on the top, which allows the chopper to take off. But what is that small ball or disc above the rotor on helicopters? They may seem like they're something mechanical, but no, they're very high-tech and are probably the most amazing piece of technology on a helicopter. The disc or ball is actually a fire radar controller. They provide information such as elevation and range to calculate the fire solution. It then sends the information to the turrets on board, which allows the helicopter to hit the target right. This is how the Air Force can be so accurate and keep innocent people safe. Next up is hole in ruler. As kids, we probably all used the hole in our rulers to mess around with in class when we were bored. Admit it, we all did it. But believe it or not, they didn't add these holes in for kids to play with. The real reason is simple, but not actually as useful compared to other things on this list. The real use for holes in rulers is simply so you can hang them up on walls. In workshops and tool storage walls, there are holes, and some of those holes can be used to hang up rulers. You may have seen them being used in this way if you did woodshop class in school. Did you know the use of holes in rulers? Next up is backpack loop. Do you or any of your friends wear a backpack to school? I'm sure you've seen a loop on the backpack of a lot of people recently as it's come back into style. However, some people think this is just for style. But no, these are called hauling loops and have been around for a while. They were originally used for hiking and camping to attach heavy things or to carry things which are too large to fit in a backpack. That said, there's not much need to put these on school kids' backpacks today, as kids don't carry heavy items to school. Well, perhaps those really young ones just starting out who take giant pencil cases into class. But when they get to senior year, we all know they'd be lucky to remember their pen. Next up is foam on microphone. Have you ever used a set of headphones with a microphone attached to it? Well, then it probably had a piece of foam or fur on it. But for what reason? Some think these are used as decorations, but that is not the case. What they do is stop any wind or background noise from getting into your audio. This is also to do things like stop popping when people say things that begin with P. The way this is done is the foam or fur cover slows down the airflow going into the microphone. So really, this is all to do with making your sound quality better. If that's the case, I wonder why every kid's mic sounds so bad on Xbox Live. Next up is hat pom-pom. Pom-poms on hats are surely used for decoration, right? Well, no. While they're considered girly today, they actually date back to the early 1900s. People in the Navy used to and sometimes still do wear these hats with pom-poms on them. The reason why is because if their pom-pom touches the ceiling, they'd know they'd have to duck down, as there's not much space on a Navy boat. So really, they were first made so that the Navy wouldn't scrape their heads. So next time somebody calls you out for wearing a childish pom-pom hat, you can tell them this fact. Don't worry, Cartman, I got your back. First off, we have great view. So when it comes to hotels, they can either be really nice or really not nice. Well, a few years back, one man paid for a pretty nice hotel room. One of the main things that made him choose the room he chose was that it said it had a giant window with a spectacular view. So he got to the hotel, and when he first got to the hotel and opened the door, he was pretty impressed. I mean, it seemed like there was a massive window with a great view, just like the description said. But then he opened the window and he was less than impressed. As you can see, the window is actually tiny and the curtains are just massive. Now, of course, in the photos on their website, they made it look like it was just one big window. But in reality, you're not going to be seeing much out of that window at all. I just can't believe this hotel completely scammed the guy and lied about the room. I mean, you have to give them props for creativity, but still. What would you do if you were this guy? Would you refuse to pay, complain, or worst of all, leave a bad Yelp review? Next up is Holy. So when it comes to bang for your buck on products, shampoo is usually pretty good. It doesn't cost all that much and it lasts forever, especially if you don't take showers like me. But one woman in Russia discovered something very odd about her shampoo. The packaging felt kind of strange, so she ripped it off. And then she discovered she'd just been scammed big time. As you can clearly see, the shampoo bottle has a secret hole inside. This pretty much means they don't have to fill half of it up. This would literally be the same as buying a cake, cutting into it, and then it's hollow inside. I cannot believe this company is getting away with this.
You can't keep getting away with it!
And even if they sell it for super cheap, it's still so scammy to do this. I don't know, there must be some kind of law these guys are breaking, who knows. But guys, have you ever been scammed this bad? I don't think I ever have. Next up is Scam Slime. So who doesn't love slime? In fact, on my second channel I make it quite a bit. Well, one dad got very mad after buying some slime for his daughter. He bought it and it came in this orange pod. But then when he took the top off, he realized it was hollow inside. That's right, the guys who packaged this just put it around the sides and not in the middle. And worst of all, when he squashed it all down, this is how much he actually got. Yeah, as you can see, it's less than half. Now I know slime is supposed to be satisfying, but nothing is satisfying about getting scammed. And according to the guy who posted this online, the slime wasn't cheap. And the worst bit about this is, they're literally selling it to kids. That's more of a scam than some YouTubers' merches are. Next up is broccoli. So this one is coming from Russia again. It seems that Russia loves scamming people in supermarkets, not just on shampoo but on vegetables as well. One guy bought a mixed bag of vegetables which included carrots, cauliflower and broccoli. When they opened it up, it looked terrible, but that's not the point. That is how it's supposed to look. No, the thing that annoyed this guy was that there was one piece of broccoli. It literally says one of the main things in the bag is broccoli, but there's only one piece. Now you may think this is an error, but many other people have reported this same brand doing this. And the reason why is because broccoli, out of all of the vegetables in the bag, is the most expensive. So I guess to cut costs, these guys skimped out on the broccoli. I mean, I know kids don't even like eating broccoli, so maybe this scam is good for kids. But still, you expect to get what you pay for, but I guess not in some Russian supermarkets. Next up is mermaid. Okay, I'm not talking about actually buying a mermaid here, but guys, if you ever see an ad to buy a mermaid, then that is probably a scam. And if it's not, let me know, I want one. Anyway, you know those mermaid snuggies which were a craze a while back? Well, one woman decided to buy one online and the picture looked like this. But when it arrived, she'd realized she made the #1 mistake, buying something online. This is what was delivered as a mermaid blanket for her. That looks like some kind of dead prawn blanket or something. I'm sure we've all seen those online shopping fails, and I think this is definitely one of them. I would never use this blanket as it just creeps me out. What do you guys think? Next up is milkshake. So this is a crazy one because it affects us all. We all know that when we go out to eat, sometimes we like to take things away with us. Well, one guy ordered a milkshake in a restaurant and didn't take a single sip. But he didn't want to waste it, so he asked for a to-go cup and put it all in there. But when he did, he was completely shocked. That is because he finally got to see how much milkshake he was actually getting. If you thought you were drinking your milkshake really fast in a restaurant, then you weren't. Milkshake glasses seem to be the biggest scam ever because that is how much milkshake comes out of a milkshake glass. And guys, he hadn't drank in a single sip. This was completely full before he put it in the to-go cup. And guys, this is no mistake. They make these cups like this on purpose to make it look like you're getting more bang for your buck. But really guys, you're getting scammed. So next time you go to a restaurant, ask for any drink in a to-go cup. And then just drink the to-go cup in the restaurant. It may seem a little crazy, but at least you're not getting scammed. And the insane thing is, that milkshake was $5. Yeah, just imagine paying $5 for that. Next up is Spider-Man. So this is yet another scam that affects kids. Wow, I'm feeling really bad for these kids. First scam by slime, then a massive college debt, and now Spider-Man 2. So one kid bought a Spider-Man grow figure. In case you don't know, grow figures are things you put in water and then they expand. But they're supposed to keep their paint and shape, however this Spider-Man obviously didn't. As you can see, it looks like some kind of deformed mess. This looks like what would happen if Spider-Man fell in the same acid the Hulk fell in. I don't know if Spider-Man got trapped in a hydraulic press or what, but this is seriously creepy. Just look at his weird squashed up face and massive fat body. Oh, sorry Spider-Man, I didn't mean to body shame you. But really, Marvel is a multi-billion-dollar company, so you'd have thought they could have done a bit better than that. Just think about how much you'd be scarred for life if you had this toy as a kid. And not only would you be scarred for life, your innocence would be ruined as you would know all about scams. Next up is emoji. Who doesn't love emojis? Okay, maybe since the Emoji Movie, not so much. But emojis are still a massive thing and people buy toys with them, pillows with them, and all kinds of different merchandise involving emojis. Well, in Spain, they sell lollipops in the shape of an emoji. As you can see on the packaging, there's a smiling emoji, and that's not exactly a hard design to remake, so you'd assume the inside would be the same. Well, then you clearly don't realize how much of a scam world we're living in today. The guy pulled it out and this was the result. Now, I don't know if this emoji is deformed or maybe somebody shot their face with a shotgun or what, but something is definitely wrong here. And is it just me, or does its eyes and mouth look like the poop emoji? But all jokes aside, it can't be that hard to remake this design. I mean, the smiley face is the easiest thing to do, but it just goes to show that some companies will lie straight to your face. Next up is bowling ball. Now this one is pretty crazy because bowling balls are pretty expensive. So one guy bought a bowling ball for a few $100s. He was using it for a while and it was all okay until one day he dropped it and it cracked. That's right, the ball cracked open, but that is not all. As if a cracking bowling ball wasn't bad enough, it was filled with a load of junk. Literally, the guy who made this just put a load of random stuff from his garage into the bowling ball. There was an 8-ball, a bunch of pool balls, and then some concrete. This is pretty ridiculous and obviously a massive scam. But these junk scrapyard bowling balls are more common than you think. So guys, the moral of the story is always get your bowling balls from an actual bowling shop, and not just some creepy guy hanging out behind a liquor store. Next up is shoe freshener. Now you may be thinking, shoe freshener, is that even a real thing? Can't you just use a regular air freshener on your shoes? Well, the answer is you can, and that's probably what you're doing. One person was using some shoe deodorizer spray when they decided to take the label off. However, when they took the label off, they made a shocking revelation. As you can see, the company literally put their label over a deodorant for women. Some people say this is by the same company and they had some leftover stock of the deodorant. So they printed some new labels out and marketed it as a new product. Apparently this is more common than we would expect, but it is still a massive scam, especially as I'm assuming the shoe spray cost a lot more than a simple deodorant. What's the worst you guys have ever been scammed, if ever? Leave a comment letting me know. Coming in at number 10, we have Disney princesses. So we all know some facts about the Disney princesses. You learn about them in the movies and there's a lot of trivia about them online. But have you ever wondered what their ages are? You likely assumed they were all around 20, but that is not the case. Out of the 10 main Disney princesses, only 4 are adults. Jasmine from Aladdin is 15, Pocahontas is 18, Cinderella is 19, Mulan is 16, Tiana from Princess and the Frog is 19, Ariel from The Little Mermaid is 16, and Rapunzel from Tangled is 18. Belle from Beauty and the Beast is 17, and Aurora from Sleeping Beauty is 16, while Snow White is only 14. It's insane how young these Disney princesses really are. But there's even a site which shows the age of every single Disney princess ever. I don't know who has time to write that stuff out, but it sure is surprising. None of the princes actually have official ages. The only time a prince's age has ever been revealed was with John Smith. We're told he was 27 when he encountered Pocahontas, but that was in 1607, and Pocahontas was only 12 years old. Now that is just creepy. No 27-year-old should be hanging around with 12-year-olds. Yeah, I'm never gonna watch Pocahontas the same way ever again. Next up is gummy bears. So we all love the candy gummy bears. They've been around forever and are some of the most famous candies in the world. They come in many different colors and flavors, and you probably assumed that the colors would match up to the flavors. In most cases, that's right. For example, the orange gummy bear is orange flavored and the yellow gummy bear is lemon flavored. But did you know that the red gummy bear is actually lime flavored and the green gummy bear is strawberry flavored? That's right, for some reason these have been swapped around. I'm not sure why this is, but it seems like a lime messing with our heads. In reality, it's likely something to do with production. For example, the flavorings or colorings may be different, but either way it really messes with your mind knowing that the red gummy bear is actually lime, and the green gummy bear has been strawberry all this time. To be honest, I didn't even notice while eating these. It really goes to show that vision probably affects your tastes more than you realize. Next up is Isaac Newton's apple. We all know the story of how the concept of gravity was discovered. Isaac Newton was sitting under a tree, an apple fell and hit his head. There are many famous drawings and references of this happening, and even the original first Apple computer logo was this happening. Yep, that's where Apple's apple comes from. But anyway, despite all of the references, this never even happened. There is some truth to this story, that is that Isaac Newton saw apples falling from a tree and then decided to look at gravity. But an apple never fell on his head. It's so strange as we're taught this in school, and many school textbooks even have a photo of an apple falling on his head. I know mine sure did, but it turns out this is all one big lie and an apple never fell on his head. Nobody's sure where this myth originated from, but it was likely drawn or written down once and then copied many times, despite it being totally fake. I guess the apple falling on Isaac Newton's head makes for a funnier story. Next up is penguin knees. So most mammals have knees, but of course penguins are flightless birds, and birds don't tend to have knees. Well, what if I told you that penguins are one of the only birds with knees? You may think this is a lie, seeing as you can't see them, but that's simply because of how penguins' bodies are made. Their legs, knees, and webbed feet are set back on their body. This allows the penguins to stand upright. We all know that most birds don't stand upright on land, but penguins do, and it's all down to their knees. Take these knees away and penguins would be bent over like most other birds. But despite us not being able to see their knees, they're there. When scientists first found this out, they were very surprised too. Most people don't think they have knees as you can't see them on their legs. But unlike humans, penguins' legs are set back on their body. This means their bellies get in the way so you can never see their knees in person, but they sure do stick out on an X-ray. Next up is Hello Kitty. So Hello Kitty is one of the most popular toys on Earth. It's a massive franchise and has made billions of dollars. We all know that Hello Kitty is a cat. I mean, just look at her, she's got ears, whiskers, and even a cat-like face. But that is where we're all wrong. The creator of Hello Kitty, called Yuko Shimizu, said it's not even a cat. That's right, when she first made Hello Kitty, she wrote her background. She wrote Hello Kitty is a cheerful and happy little girl with a heart of gold. She says she simply named Kitty, and she says that Hello Kitty has a pet hamster called Sugar. It's pretty ridiculous that Hello Kitty isn't a cat, despite looking exactly like one, and Kitty being in her name. It seems like Yuko was trying to troll everyone, and succeeded. Next thing, you'll be telling me Garfield isn't a cat. For the record, guys, don't worry, he is. But it's still blowing my mind that Hello Kitty isn't. Apparently in Japan, where Hello Kitty is from, everyone knows it's not a cat, but I guess that news never made it over to the USA, or anywhere else for that matter, as everyone else appears to be shocked. Did you know that Hello Kitty wasn't a cat this entire time? Next up is commercial honey. So it's no secret that commercials are not reality. We have an entire video pointing out all the sneaky tricks advertisers use to trick you, but here's one we didn't include on the list. Have you ever seen those IHOP commercials with honey drizzling over pancakes? They look delicious, but did you know what the honey really is? Instead of using honey for those ads, they use car motor oil. This is because it's like honey but looks better in photographs. It's pretty gross that we're drooling over motor oil instead of honey, but that isn't the only advertiser trick. They also use glue instead of milk on cereal, and instead of ice cream they often use mashed potatoes. That is because all of these things look more appealing on camera, but perhaps the strangest thing of all is that hamburgers are covered in shoe polish. This is to give it that natural shine. We're all very disappointed by our burgers in real life, but in the adverts they just look so good. Those adverts definitely work though, as I go to McDonald's every week expecting something like this, but I always end up with something a bit more like this. Next up is Septemberfest. So you may be asking, what is Septemberfest? Well, it's nothing, but what we do all know about is Oktoberfest. It's a very popular German beer festival celebrated around the world now, but despite the name Oktoberfest, it's not celebrated in October. Instead, it should be named Septemberfest, as it's now celebrated in September. So why is it called Oktoberfest? Well, when the festival was first introduced, it was celebrated in October, but in October in Germany, the weather's pretty bad. However, in September, it's close to the summer, so it's better weather. Oktoberfest didn't used to be the massive commercial enterprise it is now. It used to be a simple festival you could do at any time of year, but now it's celebrated worldwide and people prefer it to be sunny. So that is why, surprisingly, Oktoberfest is celebrated in September. Have you ever celebrated Oktoberfest? And if so, did you do it in the traditional October or the new September? Next up is Arizona drinks. So we all know Arizona drinks. In fact, Arizona seems to be the only drink which has never upped its price more than 99 cents. Thanks, Arizona. However, there is something Arizona is hiding. Due to the logo in the name, you may expect the drink to be made in Arizona. I mean, it literally says it in the name. Well, that is why you would be surprised if you turn over your can and see it's made in Canada. That's right, this drink isn't even made in the USA, let alone Arizona. I'm not sure why they make it in Canada, perhaps it's cheaper to do. But even so, this really does prove my life is a lie. On the back, it literally has an American flag in the shape of the USA, and it says an American company. Well, despite it being an American company, it's a product of Canada. Yeah, I really don't get how that makes sense. It's kind of like how Apple says their products are designed in California, but they're made in China. I guess our entire lives are lies. Next up is grass greener. We all know the expression the grass is greener on the other side. How many times have you looked over to your neighbor's lawn and thought it was greener? Well, there may be a secret reason for this. That is because some people actually spray paint their grass. That's right, this is done commonly in a lot of rich and fancy areas. Rich and fancy areas of course want to have nice green grass, but in hot areas such as California and Nevada there's massive amounts of drought. This means people can't water their lawns as there's simply not enough water. That is why many people have taken to using green paint on their lawns. This is actually worse for their lawns, and in the long term it makes them more yellow. But I guess if you just keep going over it in green, nobody will know the difference. So if your neighbor's grass is very green and yours isn't, then maybe check out what they're doing. You never know, they could be painting their grass this entire time. But do you ever paint your grass green? If you do, just be sure to not wear a fresh pair of Air Force Ones on that, otherwise they'll come out looking green. Next up is toilet paper. There are many things which divide the world, and one of them is which side you put your toilet paper on. Some people do it pointing behind, and others do it pointing forward. There are two types of people in the world when it comes to this, but which is correct? Well, anyone who puts their toilet paper on the underside, I'm sorry, but you're doing it wrong. That's right, overside is correct, but how do I know this? Well, somebody actually tracked down the original patent for toilet paper. That's right, there's an actual patent for toilet paper. It's now expired and anyone can make it, but ages ago somebody actually came up with this idea, and when they did, they drew it with the toilet paper going over. It may surprise you, but 40% of people actually do it going under, and that of course means 40% of the world is doing it wrong. Let me know in the comments whether you do it over or under. Coming up next is baby carrots. So, there are two kinds of carrots in the world, right? Baby carrots and regular carrots. Well, that is where you would be wrong. Most people think that baby carrots are a different product, but no, they're just carrots cut to a smaller size. Baby carrots start off life as regular carrots and then cut and sanded down to that size. So, when people say they prefer the taste of baby carrots, you can call them out on lying. It's simply a placebo as they taste the same. The idea actually came about by a Californian farmer in 1986. He preferred to cut his carrots like this, and he saw they sold well. He actually did this to avoid slight rotting and make the carrots look perfect. This is because baby carrots are sanded down while regular carrots are not. But despite what many people think, baby carrots do not come out this way. They come out with all the imperfections of regular carrots and then are sanded down to look perfect. Did you guys know about this? And if so, will it change your carrot eating habits? Leave a comment telling me if you prefer regular carrots or baby carrots. Check out the poll in the top right corner to vote for the biggest lie on this list. I think it's gonna be the gummy bears, as that really did surprise me. Be sure to check out my second channel. There'll be a video on screen for that in a moment. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.